Welcome back. Since bursting onto the scene in 1983 with her band I'm Talkin', Kate Ceberano has cemented her status as an icon of Australian music, building up an incredible catalogue of hits like this.
And now it is time to do what she does best, and that is hit the road. Kate's new tour is a celebration not just of her biggest tunes, but some classics from the great Australian songbook. And Kate Ceberano joins us live in the studio.
Hey, Kate.
Hi, guys.
Every time I hear you sing, I get chills. It just reminds me of my childhood. My mum blared you through the stereo when we'd be...
Yeah.
I know, I helped raise you.
Thank you. I actually did. We just had Chaka Khan on a moment ago, and I just heard you go, oh...
Chaka Khan. I feel for you. Chaka Khan is a huge reference point for me as a singer because I'm a big singer. And look at her. Like, seriously, no apologies. Like, I am woman, all for woman. She's been doing that for me since I first started singing, and she did it with Renee Gayer for years.
And you guys were so close. Yeah.
We were very close, very close.
Oh. Right, hey, so good to see you now. We haven't seen you for a while. This is a sort of full circle moment for you, right?
Yep.
Because one of your first tours, the original Australian Made tour, 1986?
Yeah.
87?
I was 20. I was a baby.
Right.
I had actually already had a few bands up to that point, so I was sort of, to my understanding, I was a seasoned veteran, but of course you get on stage and then there's In Excess and there's Divinals, there's Jimmy Barnes, there's the Saints, there's this kind of vast range of Australian music. We were humbled and we were very proud to be performing Australian music for the first time in the first of its kind of festival in the history of Australian music.
Yeah. It was just such an iconic time for the Aussie music scene back then. Can you give us some insight of what it was like, sort of behind the scenes, rubbing shoulders with those just legends of our industry?
Well, we just sort of come out of the 70s, OK? So you've got to understand, for someone who's born from the 90s on, they just have no reference point for this because social media didn't exist. And the wild, feral culture of music was kind of almost coming up from the ground and out of the earth. You know, AC/DC, it had been through Skyhooks and Australian Crawl, and we're emerging out and there's a full field of poppies. And then suddenly out comes the king of what was the king of pop, really, Michael Hutchence. And the whole atmosphere was open to a different expression of Australians. And we were the first dance band, I'm talking, was the first dance band in the country. And people, you know, you'd have 80,000 people in the field, right? And you'd see them like Labradors, they'd sort of cock their head on. They loved it, they loved the energy, but they were like, what is this stuff, you know? It just, everything changed.
Yeah, well, I was in my early 20s then. I remember going to all these concerts. Well, I remember some of them.
You were about the same age, right?
I remember some of the concerts. I don't remember all of them.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? Tell us about this brand new thing.
OK, so Australian Made is my ode to all of my compatriots on the field, right? So that particular tour, only Jimmy and I are left standing.
Right. Yes.
There's no one else.
Yeah.
And I just thought it's time, and I'm celebrating 40 years. How about I just show the world that was with the kind of influence they had on me and take some of those stories which I've kind of held a little bit golden and a bit private while in their memory, and now I think they'd think it was particularly timely to get their music and song and their stories. You know, the world wasn't all love and fair and roses back then. It was about fighting for a position in the space. Yeah. It was about representing your culture in Australia and being really true to it. And so I think it's just a really timely thing. So I'm going to go all through the regions, taking it back where we started, all the pubs and clubs that I ever played from 14 up until 23. Fantastic. And then we'll go beyond and see where it goes from there.
You've got to have some stories from all those pubs and clubs and all your time in the industry.
I know, I feel a bit like Billie Holiday. Like, in the early days, Billie Holiday, there was this great reference about her. She was in the service entry and out the back. That's not a nice reference, but you understand, you see things, but you don't say what you've seen. And I actually think in this day and age, there's no harm. I can't say anything about what it actually was and how truthful the times were. It was not a love fest, it was a rock fest. Yeah. And Australians were wanting to rock, and I'll be describing that feeling.
That's a very good promo. Now I'm really curious about those stories. Really good. What's on the set list? Just throw a few out there for us.
Well, in the background you can hear I was one of the singers in and on all the early Models singles when James came to join the group. So Out of Mind, Out of Sight, there's that sort of stuff. There's the church, you know, Steve... Hilby and I have done an album together, and I love the church. There'll be songs from Silverchair, same producers we shared, Nick Launay, maybe a bit of Nick Cave, could be a little bit of a Megan Washington. It's an entire spectrum of Australia, but on a very personal level. Like, I got to explain to people how the songs join hands.
Love that. I love that there's a story behind each one. That's great. So good to see you.
And you too.
Best of luck with the tour. Lovely to see you. For more information about Kate Ceberano's Australian-made tour, just head over to themorningshow.com.au.